Well, that's been a bit of a roller coaster of a ride. We've probably got to talk about a few things when it comes to Cardano's ADA. The last video that I put out, we're really going to talk a bit about that, and we're going to talk about the most recent price action as well. So as I get into the video, if you find it useful, informative, maybe entertaining at times, why not go ahead and smash that like button? I do appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe. Don't forget to join us down in Discord. Link for that is also in the description below. Let's keep this one on point and keep it nice and short if we can. So let's jump down into the world of ADA. So ADA paired up with USDT. This is the BitGet 1 hour spot exchange data. And yeah, you can see a pretty sizable move to the upside, right? Gives a lot of people a lot of bullish hope, right? That things are looking great for Cardano's ADA. And on these smaller time frame, these micro movements, these are things that you can kind of see playing out. You can see all these fair value gaps down here. And you know, there's quite rightfully so, I guess, that this was a good move on the back of the court and the judge ruling that XRP is not a security when it comes to retail investors, as they didn't know otherwise. And really, that comes down to the secondary sales on the exchanges, which is why you see things getting listed, or XRP getting listed back on the exchanges. And you can see that this is incredibly positive news for Cardano's ADA when it comes to the SEC over in the US. And so you can see a nice move to the upside. Quite nice to see, and it's pretty expected. But it's not what you think it is. This is not something to be overly too confident on, in my opinion. And we can already see cracks forming. We can start to see a move back to the downside. You can see we haven't got the momentum to take this up in any meaningful way, going from oversold to overbought very rapidly here. Don't get me wrong, we might push up a little bit more, but for the most part, our expectations are to move probably down to these fair value gaps. But you know, for the most part, let's kind of park that for a moment and discuss a little bit about the video that I put out yesterday. A lot of comments in the comment section were interesting, to say the least. Everyone thinking the price action or the technical analysis was old. Why did I upload an old video or anything like that? And essentially, it's not an old video. I recorded it 1 hour before the XRP news broke, and it was a weekly and monthly time frame analysis. And that analysis, unfortunately, even after this move to the upside, still stands. Okay, so we need to understand the differences between what's going on a 1 hour time frame, which is really micro movements, versus that's going on a much larger macro level. Okay, very, very different. And we can't just think of, oh, everything's invalidated, that was old TA, simply because we've had a small move to the upside. And you might be thinking, well, that's not a small move. Hey, you call it a small move for? Well, I mean, it is sizable from a small time frame point of view. It's 31%, right? But if we actually go ahead and take a look at this on our weekly time frame, our analysis from the video that we did yesterday still stands, and that's because we are still below our trend line. We're still below the 50 EMA, and the 50 EMA is still below the 200 EMA. From our weekly standpoint, nothing here has fundamentally changed. We've wicked up a little bit higher than a trend line and immediately got rejected from it. So here we can see we are still in this bearish state of play. Nothing has changed. So until we kind of break up above and close these weekly and monthly levels above these key levels, it's really hard to get super bullish on it. Okay, but you know, we can see that there's a potential here that it might be something that is going to happen, right? So we need to acknowledge what's in front of us, but we can't get too carried away thinking that it is going to happen instantaneously, or that it has already happened. Okay, so a small move to the upside on the hourly chart here hasn't really made too much of an impact on our weekly time frame, at least not yet. Everything that we were talking about in that video still remains true. Essentially, we are in a downward trend. All we are doing at the moment is setting a lower high, and we are below the 50 EMA that has already crossed lower than the 200 EMA. So everything is still bearish, unfortunately, and that means that we are still looking at those lows. Those lows haven't changed. The structure of how we get there has, but that's essentially just a technical term of, you know, what pattern that you're in to kind of work your way down there. The actual analysis still remains very solid. We are in a bearish move to the downside and hasn't yet broken out of that. There's a few things that we might want to focus in on where we might say, okay, well, we need to see this and we need to see that, right? So the first kind of area that we need to be focusing in on, I guess, is going to be 38.63. If we can get a closed position above that level on the weekly time frame, then I think we've officially broken our downward trend. We set up a higher high at that level, although it is still small scale. It's not big scale, it's still small scale, but it is a starting position. So I think we can argue that we probably have broken our downward momentum at that point. However, closing at this point in time above 38.63 cent is going to be quite difficult for Cardano's ADA, as momentum is not in our favor at this point in time. And I think all that bullishness around XRP is starting to kind of die out a little bit, again, because they realize after the fact that the case hasn't yet finished. It's still going to trial all around those institutional sales and things like that. So there's still stuff bubbling in the background. I think we're not quite ready yet, and we also don't have the demand. We have seen, of course, a few people who have maybe been away from the space for a little while start to come on back, starting to say, okay, well, maybe things are now a little bit more bullish, that's come to an end, and so forth. But for the most part, many of these altcoins, including Cardano's ADA, are still looking bearish, and they still look like they're likely to see new local or lows or bear market lows, right? So for the most part, it doesn't look like this is over just yet. And that's okay. That's not the end of the world, right? We all want bullish times to come. We all want bull markets. But if we're honest with you, you want to make sure that you also have really good dollar cost average prices that are nice and low, right? So we can obviously take advantage of these situations as they crop up, right? I'm not saying don't buy into the market. Chris and myself have been buying into the market for months, right? Anyone who's a member will know. They'll get all the alerts down in the Discord server, right? They know what we've been buying. They know that Chris was buying Bitcoin at like $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, right? For example, and that I bought XRP, some miracle, at 30 cent, right? These things have happened, and they're in the Discord servers. The dollar cost averaging is a great strategy for making sure that you have long-term exposure to these projects that you want, including Cardano's ADA. And so if we do come down even further, it just puts us in an even stronger position for the longer-term hold, right? It's all about making sure that you have the right time horizon set. So that's the first thing I needed to talk about there, was that the weekly analysis still very much is solid, and we haven't yet kind of broken into a new higher high, even at this kind of smaller scale here. On our macro scale, we're going to really have to push up significantly if we want to break above this. Essentially, we want to be above the 200 EMA on a weekly close if we want to be feeling strong about this one. From a daily standpoint, we can obviously jump down into this a little bit. You can see that we also got rejected. I'll bring this up right here on our daily time frame, right here on our 200 daily EMA, right? We closed below it, and then we got dragged down even deeper. Okay, so the wicks above, that's okay, but we didn't close. I mean, you can see how clear as day this is, that this still remains in a bearish state of play. So as good as this is, it basically just puts us in a three-wave pattern here, as you can kind of see. We've corrected upwards, but we're still in this bearish state of play. We've still got a lower high here, and we've still got to work our way down. Our target ranges have probably changed a little bit from this. We might now start thinking of this more as a bigger corrective pattern, where we might actually have to come down even deeper than maybe we would have liked, right? We can see here a potential 18 to 15 cent, which is areas that I've been talking about for quite some time when it comes to Cardano. Right? You can see it here, 15.19 to 18.09. So there's still possibilities of moves back down and testing that low trend line. Now, from a Fibonacci retracement point of view, where have we actually landed? Well, if here we come in here, we can see that we've come up right in here, just above that 702 and a little bit short of the 786. So nothing really major on the fib levels that are kind of giving you an indication that, you know, things are in a really positive bullish ways or in really negative bearish ways. Essentially, it is what it is, and it looks like we still have further to the downside to go. Momentum supports the idea of going down as well, so it is what it is. Now, if we move on over into our hourly chart, right, and we can kind of see, okay, we've had this fantastic run to the upside, but we yet to, you know, actually see a structure here that's usable, right? We have a really good run here to the upside, this really impulsive looking run, but it's not usable because we don't have a good structured move to the downside either to kind of anchor us in. Instead, it looks like we're probably going to be running out of momentum and probably pulling back to the downside. This could be a giant three-wave correction, right? Like this, fill out that fair value gap, but actually all of that might still sit inside a larger move and we still move on up, right? So we can still get those bullish signals, right? We can still get those and specifically still go after a close in a really strong position on the weekly time frame, or even that on the daily time frame, right? We can still do those things, but it looks like we need to move down before we move up, right? And a lot can happen, a lot of things can change. Okay, so there's that. That's the first thing. The second thing, obviously, is $25, right? Everyone seems to love a price prediction. And man, people really struggle with market cap and understanding what market cap is. So if there's anything you need to take away from this video, understand how market cap is calculated, price multiplied by circulating supply. We're not talking about, fully diluted supply. So we're not talking about all of the supply being out there. Circulating supply multiplied by price, right? And that gives you a reasonable market cap, right? But market cap doesn't show us anything important. It doesn't show us liquidity. It doesn't show us the amount of money that's gone into a project. All it shows you is the current price multiplied by the circulating supply. And for many people, they might think, well, that's value, right? And unfortunately, it is not, right? It's not value. What it actually shows you is that just a very simple calculation. What you have to understand about price is it isn't something that is static, right? Price is always fluctuating, right? Therefore, market cap is always fluctuating. But usually it's fluctuating at levels that is not noticeable, right? Now, if you were to, let's say, have 10 billion ADA and you were to try to sell 10 billion ADA, the price isn't going to be, let's say, 33.5 cents as it is right now. The second that you start selling, that price is going to drop rapidly, right? You're not selling it for 33.5. You're selling it on all of the different price points on the way down as it finds sellers, right? As it finds liquidity, okay? And the price is probably going to tank, probably to like 5 cents, something stupid like that, right? And then you're not going to be pulling out the equivalent market cap of 10 billion multiplied by 33 cents, right? That's not what you're going to be getting. That's not the money that you'll be finding in the market by selling 10 billion ADA, right? And this is a way you need to think about it, because essentially the price is going to react to your selling pressure. You couldn't instantaneously liquidate all of the ADA supply for their total market cap. It's because there isn't that much money in the space. It doesn't exist. It's theoretical. The number, the market cap, is a theoretical number that, in my opinion, is only designed to confuse retail investors. Anyone who understands economics and understands how these calculations works knows that market cap is not a barrier to price discovery. In fact, they know that market cap, in fact, is just a result of price discovery and of the price action. The price action itself is actually driven from supply and demand, the two things that you need to focus in on, rather than that of the market cap. I talk about this because in the comment section of the YouTube videos, all I see is, do you know what the market cap would be? You can't have an X amount of $1 trillion market cap. Don't be so stupid. This is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. And the list goes on, and there's atrocious things and all sorts of different things in the YouTube comment section that we have to ban and we have to delete, just simply because that kind of nonsense and that sort of behavior, it shouldn't be public, right? So there's a lot of stuff you guys don't see because YouTube hides it and withholds it, and then we see it, and then we just basically just say that in particular individual is an absolute, you insert your own choice of word, and we have to basically just ban them from the channel, right? And so when it comes to market cap, one of the things you have to understand is that it is not an indication of the amount of money that is in a project. It is not an indication as to the value of a project. Those things sit elsewhere. Market cap is just there, in my opinion, to trick retail investors and to basically prevent you from making more sensible decisions. So $25. $25 is an actual price target that we can see for Cardano ADA. Getting there isn't going to be easy though, right? Just because I say we can go to $25 doesn't mean it's going to happen, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in the park, something that's going to happen very, very easily. There's going to have to be some major changes on the ecosystem to drive out such a value. And in order to do that, you're going to have to see the supply of ADA shrink, and you're going to have to see the demand for ADA grow. Those are the two things that we need to see if we want to see exponential growth of ADA over a long term. So this is something that is possible. We already see the foundational work happening on the Cardano ecosystem that could see this, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to require a lot of things going right for Cardano. And I do think it has a bright future. I think it's got some real true potential. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see $25 ADA in the next bullish cycle. I don't think it's going to happen necessarily in the next cycle, but I do think it's going to happen at some point in the future. So I'll leave that one with you. You can look at it and you can kind of analyze it and you can kind of make your own decisions. But for me, I think that we're going to see some real significant growth. $25 is a possibility if everything goes right for ADA. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'm going to leave the video there. I've kind of ranted on enough today. If you found it useful, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe, and don't forget, guys, join us down in Discord. The link for that is in the description below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.